we've got 3 of the GenerEOS team members here, Nathan, Ralph and myself, and we've got 2 others. So we're a group of like-minded individuals who are inspired by what EOS could do and that it can change the world. And our point of difference is that we would like to build apps and share our block rewards to charity. So that's our point of difference. And we're small, we're independent, self-funded. But we're here to launch our toolkit with Nathan. So Nathan's in charge of smart contracts and infrastructure, Ralph's in charge of infrastructure and block producing, and I do content and community. So over to you, Nathan.
Hey guys. Yeah, EOS launched a few days ago, I guess you might have heard. I don't know. We had a lot of late night calls trying to get it launched, and we finally had a unanimous go vote Sunday night. So here we are on the live tracker, 44% of the way to the network actually unlocking so you can all start trading again. I built this toolkit to help people get on. Everybody was focused on voting, vote. No one had anything to actually do anything on EOS. Because of the unique naming system, I'm sure you all have Bitcoin wallets, you all have Ethereum wallets, and you don't really memorize your 28-character hash. EOS is unique that your accounts have like a 12-character name. It's just A to Z, 1 to 5, and so you can have your own like unique handle for your EOS accounts. So this tool lets you look up accounts. It lets you find accounts associated to a public key, and the big part is that you can actually create accounts. Now I'll show you. There's some people I know personally who have used this tool quite extensively. I'm just going to put in one of these guys. So someone went ahead and registered. I spelt it wrong. I'll put a different one in here. So you can go and find a name. So here's a guy who's purchased or reserved the name on EOS called Reservations. So for the rest of time, this person has the name Reservations. That could be tied to a smart contract. That could be a wallet. You could say, I want to send 10 EOS to Reservations, and they're the only ones for the rest of the existence of the mainnet who has that name. Now this is a guy I know, and he's gone ahead and registered all these names thanks to my tool. You might have had a little head start.
Are you going to put a link to that on the webpage?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll post it afterwards, and I'll post this video.
I'm still going here. I don't know if you guys can see some of those names. He's got leaderboards. He's got hairdressers. He's got presidential. He's got house sitting.
Donald Trump.
Merchandise. So he's got pornographer. There you go. He's gone all out. I'm gonna just skip past that one real quick. Introduction. So if you want to, if you guys have some EOS available to you in your private wallet and you want to start reserving some names, get on here. As far as I know, we're the first to market with the ability to actually generate names. The other block producer, Canada, EOS Asia, actually asked to license for free, but utilize our code as well. And for some of the developers here, there's going to be a huge refactor coming in this weekend to actually make it a desktop app. Right now it integrates with Scatter to sign with private keys. Once it's moved to a desktop app, you'll be able to generate a key file with your private key and a password securely hashed. Load that on your computer. You can do that offline, online. That'll be coming. This guy has way too many names. I need to stop scrolling. So, so the actual account creation, so EOS is a little bit different. What makes it free for the network, you're used to paying gas for Ethereum transactions, you're used to paying Bitcoin fees. The way EOS works is you actually reserve your network space by staking for your net and CPU bandwidth. You're going to purchase processing power and you're going to purchase time spent on the network. So when you create your account, if you were part of the Genesis snapshot, the creator name here is going to be that sort of random 12 characters. You might have put your public key and found what that is, and you can actually use the first part of the tool. I'm going to clear this out because it goes forever. Yeah, if you have your public key here, or from like when you did your registration, you can just punch that in. If you don't know what your account name actually was, but you know your public key, you can put your public key in there and find what your name is. And then so using that name, I'm just going to clear this out. There we go. So using that name, you'd fill that here in the creator name, because every account has to be created by an account. Then in this account name, you're going to put the name you want to register. Then you're going to set your owner and active key. Now these can be the same key, and you can use your public key for as many accounts as you want. As you saw, that guy had like 100 names assigned to his public key. I think the conventional wisdom is, if this is an account you're going to use a lot, your owner key, because it can do anything, you're gonna write that down, put that in cold storage, protect it, and then your active key you're going to use for your day-to-day transactions, and so that you could sort of put in your hot wallet. Then you're going to specify how much.
Can they be traced together?
Sorry?
Can they be traced together, the keys?
Traced.
As in, if you have one key which is this name and one which is this name, they both go to the same account. Can they be seen to be linked?
Yeah, I mean that's all public knowledge. So if someone has any of those three identifiers, your account name or any of those public keys, they'll be able to find out some trace. And I mean, they can go through the transaction history and see if you changed your key. So you can actually change your keys using another command anytime you want. So if you thought, oh crap, my key was compromised, it's your account that holds the funds, not your public key. So you can take initiative and change your key with a new secure pair and protect yourself if you expose your private key somehow. So you're gonna set how much network and CPU stake. We have this automatically filled out as 0.1. You can go as low as 0.001 of an EOS just to reserve a name. But most people found that with 0.1, you could maybe do one transaction every 5 or 10 minutes. With a full EOS, you can do like a transaction every second. It sort of scales with how much the network's being utilized. And you can always add more. Until we're unlocked, you can't unstake it yet. So if you get on the tool, just remember that if you stake it, it's locked down until the mainnet unlocks with that 15% vote. And then when the unstaking process takes about 3 days. So if you wanted to convert that stake back into liquid EOS to trade, it takes about 3 days. And then RAM. So the big thing in the EOS world is how much RAM you use. The mainnet has 64 gigabytes of RAM available to the whole community, and an account needs enough RAM to store its name, its permission history, basically its data structure. And so you have to have enough RAM to hold that. We found that the minimum is about 4,000 bytes of RAM to store a basic account. If you're going to have like a complex permission structure, you might need more. So that's up to you, and you actually have to purchase the RAM. So 4,000 RAM right now costs about 0.05 of an EOS. A full 8 kilobytes of RAM costs about 0.1 of an EOS. So if you're registering names, just remember how much you're spending on RAM. And then the last bit is the transfer. So again, voting and staking on EOS. If you have transfer yes, when you set up the stake, you're basically sending your EOS to the new account like a transfer, and then it becomes the property of that new account in their stake. And so that means when they vote, when they unstake, it belongs to them. If you turn transfer off, the EOS that you stake them belongs to the creator. So the creator can vote with what's staked on the new account, and the creator can choose to unstake it back into the creator's wallet. So that's a key delimiter. For example, if you're a smart contract developer, you can have your primary in like liquid wallet, and you can do a stake with no transfer. You can delegate the bandwidth to your smart contract for processing power, but you retain the voting rights and you can unstake it at any time without having to actually access the account that's controlling the smart contract. So the smart contract could be fully multi-sigged, but your original account that delegated that could retain the voting rights and undelegate the bandwidth anytime you want. So if you're into developing, I mean, obviously as an investor, a lot of this stuff isn't really useful to you. But if you're in the development space and you're doing smart contract development, the interplay between who owns the stake, who owns the EOS is a very important consideration. So you fill out all those fields, you read the Ricardian contract that states that when you do any action on the EOS ecosystem, you're contractually agreeing to this legal document, which is another differentiator from a lot of the other spaces. And again, as a smart contract developer, this is a method where you can associate some legal repercussions to using your smart contract. So you can say by people interacting with your smart contract in these different ways, they are agreeing to these legal terms that you set forth in these contracts. So you can create your account. I'm not going to create an account right now. You have to take my word for it that it works. A lot of people have used it successfully. The other tool I've put here that no one else has come to market yet is proxy management. So say you own, God willing, like 100,000 EOS, but you don't actually want to worry about voting with it. You want to say, this guy can do all your votes for you. And you might do that for a variety of reasons. You don't want to interact with the market. You want someone else to change their votes. So you want to have some security where the proxy might have a key that you're okay if it gets compromised, or it's less risky. But your main bag holder, you want that as cold stored as you could possibly want. So you could set up a dummy account that has no EOS and register them as a proxy that your big account will set. And so then you can do voting. Or if you have a bunch of investors and they want to vote for your initiative or vote for a block producer, but they don't want to deal with the day-to-day, they can all set you as a proxy and you can do the voting. So the first part, register, you have to register first. So you'd put your account that is the proxy, put that name there and just hit become proxy. To set a proxy, you'd say which account you want to associate a proxy for, and then you put the name of the account that will be the proxy, and you set that. And once again, there's a Ricardian contract. This one's quite a bit bigger. Setting a proxy is the same contract as vote producing. Finally, this is just a plug for ourselves. You can vote directly for us on this page. But if you want to vote for 30 full block producers, there's other services that provide voting portals. Now, all this uses scatter integration right now. I mentioned by the weekend we'll have an offline version. But if you do have scatter, it's basically like MetaMask. You put your private key in there, it secures that and integrates. So you just can set attach identity. I'm not going to go through the full scatter process because we're focusing on our tool, but you can attach your scatter identity, and then from there you can utilize any of these tools that send a transaction to the mainnet. Now the really cool one is the name auction space. So I'm not sure how many people are familiar with premium names or the idea of premium names in EOS. The big takeaway is auctions don't even start for 14 days. Your names aren't awarded for 14 days until after the network unlocks. And the premium name EOS itself already has a bid of 670 EOS on it. And this is at a time when every single account in the EOS mainnet only has 10 EOS. And so to give an example of how this was achieved, the fellow who's done it has convinced 106 people to all send to them their 10 EOS so we could put this bid in 14 days in advance. Now, I don't know if that's a good bidding strategy. I don't know how many people do eBay. I don't know if that's a good game plan, but that's already happening in the space. So how this works is that all these names you can consider as top-level domain names. So whoever actually ends up buying EOS in 14 days can register new accounts. You can have toolkit.eos, you can have block1.eos, you can have trade.eos, whatever. They control the ability to create those names because all other names have to be 12 characters long. But if you own this, you can make any name you want, .eos, .com, .net, apparently .coin, .food, .blockchain, .wallet, .ai, .baidu, .alibaba. People are already bidding on those, and they're going to own that naming right to publish those names. The way the auction works, for anyone who's hasn't been keeping up to speed, is 14 days from this unlock. the highest bid name will be awarded per day. So whatever name has the highest bid of all names will be awarded once every 24 hours. And if you want to start bidding on names, we've provided that in our tool here as well. You can put your account name that you own, the name you want to bid on, and how much you want to bid. Every bid has to go up by 10%.
Where does the money go from a winning bid?
So the winning bids go into a system account called esio.names. And I think the idea there is that the community can decide what to do with those funds. It's sort of a deflationary technique, but it's also, it can go towards the work proposal system. So if people put towards like a compelling case that there's a project to work on, they can siphon those funds into the worker proposals. In some cases, depending on how the market's going, they might just burn it out of the system, just as a deflationary measure. But I think the intent is to use it to continue to support the ecosystem. So whoever these big people are who are going to be throwing a lot of money at these names, ultimately it's going to take money out of circulation, and it's going to take money into the pockets of people who want to improve the community. So it's kind of a win-win, hopefully.
So it's like a deflationary function, which hopefully raises the price.
Yes, because obviously the supply is going to be always increasing with block rewards. Like there's going to be 5% annual inflation. So at the same time, there's lots of methods that take money out of the system, buying RAM, staking on contracts. Everpedia is going to need a lot of bandwidth, so that's a lot of EOS coming out of circulation to run these smart contracts. But because it's been brought out of circulation to run these smart contracts, it also means all the users, you get to use it for free. You don't have to pay gas just to play CryptoKitties. You can just play CryptoKitties for free. So that's the tool as it stands. Like I said, we're going to be doing a major, and by me, I mean myself, and maybe a bit of help from Ralph, a major refactor, and we're going to try to put a comprehensive suite of EOS wallet capabilities. Just keep an eye out. And if you have any questions about EOS or the tools, have at her.
So, So we'll put a link to our toolkit on the meetup, and so you can check it there and check our website as well. We've got lots of other resources on YouTube and Steemit with instructional pieces as well. But I'll ask Ralph to come up for you to ask any questions about EOS or the mainnet launch or our toolkit. Cool. Any questions? Who wants to start on?
You said Everpedia?
Yeah.
What? Can you talk me through that?
Well, I don't know much about it, but
Wikipedia, except for it's on EOS.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I think so.
And you get rewards, like EOS rewards, when you have to contribute to it. So it's a full ecosystem. I haven't also looked that much into it, but they're trying to get people contribute by rewarding them.
Yeah.
And it's one of the major airdrops on EOS.
Yeah, I was just looking it up.
Yeah, I think we're talking about the way EOS works, where there's no transaction costs. So it works for those kind of platforms where people are going up and ending entries in Everpedia, then they can just do that without being penalised or paying to actually do that. So this new platform is going to open up a lot of applications that weren't possible say on Ethereum, for example.
And since a lot of you guys are traders, you might also want to look into RAM purchasing, because RAM prices will go up when it goes lower in the system. So if a lot of people start buying RAM, at the moment it's relatively cheap to buy RAM. So if you want to get in right now, do that. And then it will eventually go up in price.
So is there a fixed amount of RAM available, or is that increasable?
Well, the block producers are providing the RAM, so please don't go too crazy, because we will be the ones providing the RAM if we ever become a block producer. But yeah, that's pretty much how it works. So currently, Nathan mentioned, currently it's set to 64 gigabyte of RAM. If that is being close to being used up, then all the block producers have to up their technology, like their hardware, and provide additional RAM.
the actual trading though uses a linear system like Bancor algorithm. I think they're one of the groups in the crypto space, and so there's just a linear relationship. So as supply goes down, the price will go up. So there's room for some speculation in that you could try to buy it when supply is high and sell it low, but there's not going to be the same sort of trading speculation because it's not an open market like a market book, right? It's just whatever the algorithm sets as the price is the price. So all you can, like, maybe if you know that a smart contract is going to come online and start buying up RAM really quick, you might buy a bunch of RAM, wait for them to inflate the price and sell it. But I think that space, while interesting for some people, might not appease the big investor. But it's a space to watch because it is a limited supply. So.
What do you mean by 14 days till unlocks? What unlocks?
Right, so the name bidding here, these premium names, this functionality to actually have these names to be awarded won't occur until 14 days after 150 million people vote. So right now EOS is launched, but it's launched in sort of a locked state where block producers aren't being assigned or paid, and you can't yet unstake your balances, which is the reason the big exchanges aren't able to have withdrawals. So once 150 million votes are put into the system, people can then start the unstaking process, which takes 3 days, and 14 days from that point, the premium name auction.
It's basically waiting for 150 people to...
Yeah, 150 million EOS to vote.
How many are they up to now?
150 million EOS?
Yeah, 150 million EOS have to vote.
What's that? What's going to happen?
15%. That's when they activate.
Are they going to be staked?
How far along are they now? Are they up to what, 10 million, 2 million? Or?
We're up to 66 million. Yeah, so we're getting closer. It's been a couple days. I think a lot of the big holders have been waiting for more secure mechanisms. So we were part of an article with 10 other block producers, sort of giving our third-party audit of a voting mechanism from GenerEOS, just to give some confidence back to the community that there was an approved tool. Because prior to that, the only tool we said was you have to download a node, run the command line on your Ubuntu server, and that's a bit difficult for the average EOS owner to do. So yeah, we spent some time over the last couple days to audit the code of this GenerEOS EOS voter and put out a joint statement saying we feel confident that you can use it to vote, and we're hoping that will start increasing confidence in the security, and some of these larger holders will be feeling secure enough that they can actually get their votes in.
What's up with all the no vote fight that's been happening recently? Technical. I don't like any of this stuff. I'm really doing.
I think because you have to use your private key to vote, and everybody's afraid of their private keys being stolen, there's a lot of uncertainty about where it's safe to do that. Because obviously you never want to enter your private key anywhere, but if you don't want to enter your private key, how do you vote? And if no one votes, then you can never trade, and so it's in this messy cycle, right? So we need, before people can start trading, we need 75 more million votes, and we need people to actually do that.
75 million.
Yeah.
What percentage of EOS is sitting on exchanges? Because surely they've got a huge...
Yeah, so the top 10 accounts made up what? How much? 50%. So yeah, I think the top 10 exchanges are making up 50%. So that's
all voting. Do we know?
No, they're not allowed to vote because under the governance, you can only vote with the permission of the actual holder, and most of the exchanges don't have a method of providing that to their users.
Adding to the stalemate, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why there's only half a billion as opposed to a billion. So you need actually 30% to vote as opposed to 15%.
Yeah, pretty much. That's right. And there's another 100 million that Block 1 owns, right? And they're not voting either. So the actual pool that can vote is pretty small. And so to hit this 15%, like you're saying, realistically, you almost need a 50% voter turnout to hit 15%.
So I missed what the voting is required for. What does it unlock? What trading does that allow for?
Yeah, so at the moment, so the reason for that is, I think, Block 1 wanted to make sure that the community is behind the mainnet that launched, because obviously the software is open source, right? So anybody could launch that and start saying we are the mainnet. So that you would have lots of different mainnets, and then nobody knows, okay, which one is the real one. So they locked it down. They said, okay, we need at least 50% of people to say, okay, this is the mainnet by actively interacting with it, and which means voting. And that will prove, okay, this has the biggest support, and we declare this the mainnet.
So that mainnet is not live until that happens?
Yeah. Now the other reason it's sort of locked down is when all the Genesis accounts were loaded into the mainnet, the entire balance was pre-staked. So if you had 20 EOS or if you had 200,000 EOS, all of it was pre-staked except for 10. So you'd had 10 EOS that you could trade or use to purchase names, but the rest is fully staked. So these big exchange wallets that do have like 150,000, 149.99, is staked, but because of the government's articles, they're not allowed to vote with it, and that those balances can't be unstaked and made available for trading until this 15% vote occurs. So.
Is there a website to show how many EOS they are held by exchanges and how many are individual traders?
I think my computer shut down. There are a number of block explorers where you can go through the accounts, and you can actually go through the snapshot files themselves. Basically, when the ERC20 smart contract, it was basically downloaded into a CSV. And so you can like analyze that CSV and see like the account balances of everybody in the world. You have that one opportunity before movement happens where you could see, okay, you could just order by balance and see how much every person has. You don't know who they are because it's a random name, but you can see that, okay, there's this many accounts that have a balance of this size.
Yeah, there are some websites that actually did do a bit of extra research on top of providing just the list, and who looked at the actual flows and went like, oh, this looks like that's the Binance address, and that looks like it's the whatever CoinSpot address, and so on. So there are a few websites if you Google. Yeah, and the thing is, in theory, nobody should be able to really buy and sell at the moment because there's no real network yet, but the exchanges themselves, they just handle it internally in their own order books.
Yeah.
So that's how this is happening, but in theory nobody really should be able to trade.
So that's what's happening, they're just handling it internally.
Yeah.
Actually getting EOS.
Yeah.
The price is going,
So it's all legible, yeah. So Harry, did you have a question?
If you've got EOS on an exchange, can you withdraw them at the moment? Or?
No. So you're only. Sorry, I'll get back to you. So, yeah, you can't withdraw EOS if you buy it, but obviously people might be cashing out or doing coin-to-coin conversions. But that's only happening on their internal balance. There's no funds.
What happens if the votes, if it doesn't reach 150 million, just say theoretically, if you don't get the vote?
If somehow it's stopped at 149.9 forever, I think Block 1 will just vote.
Service there that you got the name registration option. It sounds a bit like the Ethereum. They had something similar back in May last year.
Yes. Yeah, in May
similar thing.
Oh, that's all.
But you kind of have to be a bit careful because it could end up being a bit of like a pets.com thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're registering and auctioning something.
names.
Yeah, just registering names. Yeah.
Oh, name squatting.
Name squatting.
That's what that guy is doing.
That's what he's doing. So realistically, we're looking at another few days before it's up and running.
Yeah, it looks that way right now. It could be.
I mean, it's going to slow down.
Well,
as it
it's
goes on.
it's kind of gone through a speed up.
66,000.
Yeah, we're at 66 million.
So is it fluid or is it voting round? So it's just got to get to it.
So you can actually change your vote every 10 seconds, but once you voted, the system counts it as voted. So you can't like withdraw a vote. Well, you can. You can say I don't vote for anybody, but I think as far as the ecosystem is concerned, it counts as a vote. but you can change your vote. So if you voted for 30 people and had a complete change of mind, you're like, screw those 30 people, I want to vote for 30 other people, you can do that every 10 seconds.
And if it sits at, say, 120 million for the next 2 weeks, and 3 weeks, it's 4 weeks, in 2 months' time, we're at 130 million. I mean, do EOS have the power to say, okay, fuck this, we're going to turn it on?
They do.
Yeah, the community really owns the code, right? So we could just decide, okay, this is not going to happen. We, as the community, decide we will lower this to a lower value, and we just activate it anyway. In theory, but I'm not sure if this is going to happen. So, and like Nathan already mentioned, block 1 holds 10% of. So they could just overthrow.
They could turn it over tonight.
If they wanted. Yeah.
Do you have any idea where the 150 million number actually came from, or why 150?
I don't know why they chose 15%.
Well, if there's 21 nodes, I mean, it's really, it's kind of hard to manipulate.
Maybe they thought, well, we have 10% and we're sure 5% will vote. So, I don't know.
Are you okay with like real beginner questions?
Yeah, go for it.
So I'm not particularly familiar with what sort of contract or smart contract system you have using available. Is there a language for that, or using standard language, and what are the things likely to do?
Sure. So they're using WebAssembly. So any language that can compile into WebAssembly. The primary language they're supporting right now is C and C++. So a bit of a throwback, but quite powerful. So basically, if you've developed on software in the last 10 years, you can write it. You don't have to learn something brand new. Obviously, you can't use a full suite of libraries. I think people are working on like JavaScript to WASM compilers. Basically, anything can compile into WASM as long as someone's developed a compiler for it. So I think over time, as the EOS ecosystem hopefully continues to flourish, I think we'll see a lot of different methods of developing smart contracts will come about. I know WebAssembly is relatively new to the entire internet space, so I think that whole space will see a lot of ongoing development.
Is it more sophisticated or richer potential types of contracts than what can be done with Solidity or Ethereum, or is it?
Oh, significantly. I mean, basically anything that you can code in C++ within the limitations of the processing available, right? So you'll have, RAM limits. There's certain libraries on how to actually write your databases to those RAM and publish ABI files of, how you can interact with those contracts. But just about anything that can compile into WebAssembly will work. So you're not bound by this very small feature set. It can expand quite a bit.
And as I understand it, it'll be a lot cheaper in terms of the actual cost of the execution.
Yeah, for the end user, yeah. For the actual participants, it's free. It'll be up to whoever's publishing their smart contract to actually stake enough net and CPU and RAM to run it.
So it's a resource allocation.
It's a resource allocation. So if you published a smart contract and your users were saying, hey, I'm getting errors that there wasn't whatever you bought in with Ether, that went straight to them. Yeah. Plus they own 100,000 EOS. So, 100 million EOS. So yeah, I think they have a lot of liquid right now. Yeah,
so is it going to be deemed as security? No, well, they've actually registered, they've taken that into account from the beginning, I think, and hence why it's registered in the Cayman Islands.
Yeah, Block 1 is, but they've gone a step farther and said, well, we've published the code, but the community runs it, so no one owns it.
So yeah, under the SEC's latest guidance, that makes it very much distributed utility like Bitcoin. So if that gets interpreted the same way.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting about the EOS ecosystem and how that's going to play out with trading is, Bitcoin specifically a coin. EOS is a network commodity, and so how that's going to interact? Are you going to buy things with EOS, or are you going to buy things with a, some sort of sub token that runs on the EOS network? Because EOS itself is too valuable because you need it to actually run your applications, and there's a limited supply. Yeah, exactly. So it's a land grab to run your applications.
A little bit like that with Holochain and HoloFuel, which is a project on the Bitcoin.
So the EOS dApps will have to hold EOS themselves.
That's right.
To run it.
Yeah.
And that's a deflationary
action?
Essentially, like, I mean, it's removing it from the supply, but it's not gone, right? So it's not getting burnt from the system, but it does
It's
get.
not tradable.
Yeah, it's not tradable. Yeah.
A joke question was the very long sale price, the conspiracy to gradually deflate the Ethereum price over time?
I tried not to form an opinion. I tried to focus on just getting it launched, but I had some suspicions of my own that certain parties may have been intentionally delaying the launch. But hopefully it was all, yeah, hopefully it was altruistic, that it was genuinely about security and not just to do things to the market.
But if they're waiting for 15% to vote, I mean, they don't control that.
Oh, no, well, so there was, some people were ready to launch the moment it unlocked 2 weeks ago, so the moment the token was frozen. So some people were ready to launch day 0. Other groups said, oh, we need another day, we need another day. China came in and said we wanted a third-party security audit, and then they said they wanted 7 days, and then they said they needed 2 days. So there was, before it even hit the network on Sunday, that whole week, there was a lot of back and forth drama amongst block producers on how quickly to actually make it public.
There was that weird bit of China fudge. There was some group that published something on Telegram saying they found all these vulnerabilities. And
yeah, Kihu 360 or something.
was that any legitimacy to that?
I think there were some concerns that were sent to Block 1.
There were no real showstoppers, like there were a couple of bugs that they found, but Block 1 analyzed them and said, well, yeah, it is a bug, we will fix it, but we can fix it down the road, it doesn't have to delay the mainnet launch, but then other people were strictly against it. And yeah, we don't know why, maybe they wanted to...
Ethereum holders, I said.
Maybe, yeah.
So thanks, Ralph and Nathan, for a great presentation. I hope you guys stay around and Toby will be around for any questions. We're moving to the free format. If you like tonight, please put a comment saying that you liked it so other people hear about the group. And I'll post this video and details of Independent Reserve and GenerEOS's toolkit on the meetup as well. So thanks, guys. Cheers.
Yeah, get those names.
Click like and subscribe and join me on this cryptocurrent affair.
Just because it's double doesn't mean it's a bubble.